This is Thumper, and Thumper's getting an overhaul. Thumper started out life as a Nissan Xterra, an '04 Nissan Xterra, and we've transformed it into this doomsday machine over the course of the past 2 years. But it's getting old and it needs an overhaul. If you know the history about Thumper, it was voted on by the audience, how it was built, how it was to be painted, the color it was painted, the graphics, the machine gun, everything that's on it was gone over in one aspect or the other. We decided to revisit the original concept, and we added an axe and a shovel. And of course, if you're going to add an axe and a shovel, why not add some blood? And since we're going to add a bit of blood to this, how about a severed head? Well, we had to add a backup camera to it anyway, so we went ahead and just made a severed head and, put the backup camera under it. We made the blood look as realistic as possible. It's kind of, transparent, translucent, and it's got a little bit of pulp to it. That's Klaus von Fliegen. He's a little add-on that he's on the truck hanging off the antenna. The back window was so milky and old you could hardly see through it. It wasn't even safe to drive anymore. So we put a brand new piece of Lexan in. We installed it in such a way that it's a lot like a real windshield would go in, but we used screws. We used a ribbon kit, which is butyl, the same as you would on a traditional windshield. We used a little bit of fine line, and we traced around where the overlay would have been on the original one that hid all the structure that's behind there, and it wraps around the body contour that's inside and the brake light. A little bit of Scotch-Brite and some sandpaper to rough it up so that it would bond. I put a bonding agent on there, an adhesion promoter, sprayed it black. And then a tip is never pull the tape off at a 90 like that. You always want to pull the tape at an angle so you don't pull the paint off. And as you can see, it contoured around the interior, so you can't see any of the hardware inside there. And ta-da, there's the windshield. We need to add a little blood to that. Then we got on to building the skull. Now this is just to put in the backup camera, the reversing camera. We drilled a hole in a skull so that we could get a bit in there, and we cut out that whole area. Then I attached a piece of wood, just crap wood, to a bracket so that I had something to mount to the back. I cut the eyes out so that it would vent, because when you spray expanding foam inside these things, if it doesn't get any air, it'll never dry. So the expanding foam actually blows out of the eyes, and that's pond and garden expanding foam, so it can put up with the elements. There it is, shot through there. A trick to this, to keep using it, the nozzles will clog up and so will the straw because, it'll solidify, it'll harden inside there, is use a hair dye bottle and fill it with acetone, MEK, or lacquer thinner. And you can use your bottle over and over, the foam over and over. I put the skull on at an angle to let it dry so that it would take a natural form as to what it was going to be under the backup camera. That used to be a camera mount when this was a Sister Mary's Funhouse camera truck. So then I perforated the skull with some more holes so I had a place to put the hair through. You spin the hair from a wig into a tight little ponytail, cut it with some scissors, and then put a little shot of some hot glue on there, and you're ready to rock and roll and start putting plugs in this guy's head. And it also bonds to the foam that's still expanding and, really gluey and gooey on the inside. Another trick is once you put expanding foam all over this, get a stick of some kind and start to smear it around before it can dry so that it creates that, nasty, nasty look. Then I like using an iron oxide primer to just give it a uniform look, go over the whole thing once it's dry. And then I add like a burgundy and a little bit of black, just some spray paint. And then I mix up a little bit of a transparent blood and put it in a hair dye bottle again and squeeze it all over it and, get it as nasty as possible. I mean, it is our backup camera. So anyway, the girls are in rehearsals right now, and there's nothing that we can do until the rehearsals are finished with them. So we're all just kind of taking a break and enjoying taking Thumper on the streets and meeting people and talking and just having a great time.